Hi everyone, welcome or welcome back to my channel. So today is going to be part 2 of going through all of my eyeshadow palettes and basically just doing a declutter. So if you have not seen my previous video, I will have that probably linked somewhere or down below, so definitely check that out. But basically what I will be doing is going through, I will not necessarily be decluttering anything, I'm going to be putting everything away in a bin. I have not decided, basically the idea is, the stuff that's kind of going in the bin though, will more than likely no longer be featured on my channel. It's kind of just going to be if I one day do decide to declutter, that will most likely be the stuff I declutter. I also, though, do want to have something that I'm calling my archive, which is stuff that I will just be keeping. I just no longer really want to play with it, or I just feel like it's old, or, whatever, but it's nothing that I necessarily want to get over. So, as I go through each of my items here, I will just basically be saying if it will be going into the archive, or declutter, or I guess if I keep it. So, let's go ahead and start. So first up, this is a little quad that I have from the lip bar. I feel like I've done a video on this one, but I'm not 100% sure. I had picked this up from Walmart a little bit ago, and to be honest, it's a little cute little quad. It had its moment. I don't feel like the shimmer was anything super impactful. I think that if you have a small collection, I think this would be really cute to create a little easy smoky look, but it's something that I feel like I need. So I would definitely say, I don't hate this. So we're gonna say archive, because I don't hate it. Next, this is by Revolution, the Forever Flawless palette. So this is a super rainbow palette. To be completely honest, Makeup Revolution, their formula is just okay. This does have some pressed glitter, so not very good. This is definitely an older palette. Again, I don't honestly have anything against Makeup Forever, or Makeup Revolution, so I would say probably archive. I think it's kind of, if I don't necessarily have an issue with the brand, I might archive it. So this is the Tammy X Revolution. So Tammy, I don't know if she is still making content on YouTube, but at one point she was, and she had some palettes with Makeup Revolution, so I wanted to pick them up, or at least this one. So this is the Tropical Carnival Shadow Palette. Again, I barely ever use this palette, and it's just, Makeup Revolution, their quality is just okay. It's not very good. I can't really build a look out of this. The shimmers are just not that good. The mattes were okay, but it's I don't want to use it. You know what I mean? I'm not even drawn to it. So honestly, I guess in truth, I would probably say it's a declutter, because it's not something I want to reflect back on and be oh, this was an amazing thing, because it wasn't. I think I asked for this for Christmas, and I kind of feel I regret, because, it's just okay, but I've never really used it because I just don't want to. Except this is going to be a hard one. This is, who is this by? September Rose Cosmetics. This is their Brew palette. Unfortunately, the brand, I believe, is kind of gone for right now. But look at this palette. Ugh. I think we're going to keep this normal collection. This is my absolute favorite from them. It is a more neutral heavy palette, but I just love it. I've really always loved this one, and the artwork is just so good. I wish they would come back. So this next up is by Danessa Myricks. This is a very expensive palette, and as you see, I've gotten some use out of it, but to be completely honest, I feel this would go in the archive. Sad to say that. I feel weird saying that. I feel I'm on the cusp of that. I have other eyeshadows that I'm much more willing or wanting to reach for. I just feel because this is an all shimmer palette, I'm not really reaching for it, and also because the duochromes in this, there's not really a lot of light. The only light shade is the shade Angels, which is a super stunning shade, but I'm noticing that I have other palettes that have really similar formulas. That's what's hard for me with Danessa Myricks. The formulas are great, but I never want to reach for it. Yeah, so we're gonna say she is definitely being archived. So next up, this is by Fantasy Cosmetica, the Cradle and Ice, or Cradled and Ice palette. So this came out, I just believe, this current year. This is what this looks like. I have been trying to decide, because to be completely honest, I don't really like this palette. The shimmers are fine, but the shimmers, a lot of them are super similar. And I don't really want to reach for this palette. Their newer one they came out with, the most recent one, I love that. I absolutely love that. This one, I just, I feel bad because I spent my money on it and I wasted. But, I guess, to be completely honest, when I had saw that palette, I was not sure if the color story was for me. And I wish I would have, stuck to my gut, because I honestly do feel I wasted my money, which is sad. It's a really good formula. I'm not going to say it's not. I think just the color story just does not reach me. There's only 2 looks that I feel I can do with the whole palette, and I feel I just keep repeating them. Do you know what I mean? And I don't want to reach for it. Like, that's the big thing. Like, I don't want to reach for it. So we're gonna say Declutter, sadly, because I just don't want to reach for it. That one literally feels so bad, but it just says September Rose. So we have the Slush 2. I also have the Slush 1 here, but I'll show you the Slush 2. So this was an all matte eyeshadow palette. Pretty good. Pretty good. Not the best, to be completely honest, but for what it was in the time period, this is also from that same brand who did the Brew palette, which you know I love. Here, I'll just show you. I actually have them all right here. So this is the OG Slush palette. Got a good amount of use out of here. The shades, like the yellow in this, was really nice. But I feel like I just don't want to use it. The shimmers were not that good. That's an honest. I just don't want to use it. It's just, I never use it. So this 2 would definitely be archived because I do just think they're really cool. I think especially Slush 1. Like, look at this artwork. It's so beautiful. Ooh. God, I wish. Here is their last palette that they did, which was the Still Pretty palette. I don't remember if I had to pot any of these, so we'll try to be really careful with this one. I did actually like this palette. It is an all, obviously, monochrome palette, but the shimmers in here, a lot of them were, like, super good. Like, Sweet Pea. Like, just this super, just really smooth formula. Like, another shade that I always forget that's in here is called Zinnia, which is a really nice red shimmer. So pretty. Again, I'm not reaching for this palette, unfortunately, and I don't even think this palette exists anymore, sadly. We'll be going to the archives. Next, this is Melt, the Christmas Town palette that came out, not this past holiday season, but the holiday season before. So this is what this looks like. I do like this one. To be completely honest, it's like a bunch of mismatched shades, I guess I would say, but it does have some really good shades. The shimmers in this were pretty good. I feel like because it's still relatively new in my collection, to me, I do want to keep it like in the normal collection. Next year when we do this again, I might, obviously have different thoughts if I use it much or not. So we're going to keep that in our normal collection for now. So next up, this one, I already know is going to be a simple declutter. This is a Sweet Tooth palette from Hank & Henry. Unfortunately, Hank & Henry has just become a big trash monster of a brand. I did actually like this palette. The shimmers were really good, but the brand and the owner is just trash monsters, so definitely cannot. Here's another brand, Ouija Cosmetics. This is a simple, probably declutter. Some of the shades have popped out. I had bought this a couple years ago for my birthday, and the quality is just not that good. Next up, I'm just going to kind of flip through these because I do still think I have them. So a while ago, I had a ton of Jeffree Star palettes that I did depot, and I kind of sorted them in these. I do have an old video up on my channel if you want to see how I made these into magnetic palettes. So these are really pretty. Don't get me wrong. I never reach for these. I'm not really a singles girlies, but these are all predominantly Jeffree Star and EVH. But I do have, this is the last of the 4. These are definitely, I would also consider kind of a declutter. That's what I would call it. Because I'm just not reaching for them. I thought I had something really cool, but no, I don't know where that is. I should see if I can find it, because I think it'd be cool to show you all real quick. Okay, so I did find it. So this will be staying in my active collection. Judge. This has like some shapes I had bought. This is like a magnetic palette from Amazon, and I was gonna paint it different colors. That never really came to fruition. But what I wanted to show you is, so these are basically all of my single shadows from brands that I am okay with still using. But I really wanted to show you these. If you all remember, these are from, not this past Halloween, but the Halloween before. These came from Notoriously Morbid. And these look so cute. These, honestly, I have no idea how I'd want to, like, archive them or whatever. I have zero plans to ever use them. I bought them because they were cute. So I know that's kind of silly to some, but I'm a big makeup person and they're really cool. So definitely not regretting those. Up next, this is by NYX. This is the Ultimate Matte Palette. Mine's, like, so gone. Some people really like this palette. I never really did. The shades are fine, don't get me wrong. But I just have other stuff that I want to reach for, to be completely honest. So, I don't know. I never really liked this one. I've definitely created looks. Like, I have looks on my channel with this palette. So, declutter, archive, whatever. I don't really have, like, massive thoughts about her. It's just not my favorite. So this is the Grinch collection. This actually came out not this Christmas, but the Christmas before, or holiday season before. And it was a really cute little palette. A little cute 9 palette. The shimmers were pretty decent. This is actually from Makeup Revolution. This is actually a collection from them that I did not hate. Like, look at that little shine. I would definitely say this will be going to the archives. I don't want to reach for this one. I might reach for it next year on the holiday time. I know that they still, I think this past like holiday season Walmart had it again, which is kind of cool. So I definitely feel like it might be something that I might pull out again next year to play with, but I don't want to like my current collection because I'm just not reaching for it. Okay, next up, this is another one from last year. So Cara Beauty came out with this palette, which I do still think it's really cute. It's very gimmicky. I do a video on this if you're curious. But since I filmed that video, I have not reached for this. So she's gonna go into Archive. There we go. The Hershey Kiss. This is the milk chocolate or cookies and cream from Glamlight. To be honest, I have not played enough with this one. So this might stay in the normal collection. I don't hate it. Here's the other Makeup Revolution Grinch palette. This is a more ginormous one. It's really cute. The quality in this one, in my opinion, is not as good as that other one that I showed you, but it's still fine. To the Archives. She's cute. She'll stay. These ones, ooh, this is a hard one. You know, to be honest, I just don't want to reach for these. So this is the Wine palette by Glamlight. What this looks like, just some purples. I just never think to reach for these. Dirty Martini, also from Glamlight. This one was okay. The shimmers were pretty decent. I just never think to use this one. Chocolate Martini, weirdly enough, is probably my absolute favorite. Be super careful because I did completely depot this one. I do feel like I do, as I've shown you, 2 neutral palettes currently. I think I'm okay kind of leaving this one in the archives. Right now, Margarita palette. This is the one that was like the hardest for me to use, but I did like some of the shades. Like this green is a gorgeous one. So next up, this is the Beauty Moon Cosmetics X Piglet GC. This baby is not going nowhere. This just came into my life a couple of months ago, and I still really like this one. This palette, I loved every single look I created with this palette. Seriously. Such a stunner. We're keeping her because we want to play with her more. It's been a second and I need to use it more. Lamplight Icy palette. This is the red one. I just don't reach for it. You know, I got reds. Same. I have the blue raspberry one. Same kind of thing. The shimmers are fine, but they're nothing out of this world. I feel like whenever I swatch them, I'm never like super impressed. Like they're there, but they're not like, they're just not like at the top of my list like favorite. So next, these are the 2 from Notoriously Morbid Season of the Witch Fall palette. I will say this, purchase in my opinion from Notoriously Morbid for some of their shimmers. Some of these shimmers are really good. Like in this palette, I love this like purple and this like greenish golden color. I'm not reaching for this though. We're gonna put her in the, you know, not gone, but in the, I can't think of it. My brain wants to keep saying quarantine, but that is not correct. Little Ghost palette. You all know I did a video on this one. Some people really like this color story. I think that what really sold me is they had for their ad used Stevie Nicks, and like that just made me be like, oh, I need to get this palette. And I think she's also called Gold Dust Woman, but like this shade is definitely my favorite. It's like the prettiest. But like I've now owned 2 of their palettes and it's like I'm not drawn to them. Like I don't want to use them, if that's like really honest. It's kind of sad, but whatever. Next up, Little Ghost palette from Odin's and Angelica. I really like this one as well. It is kind of a little bit like a hodgepodge of colors, but I even like looking at this now, I see looks that I could create, that I'd want to create. So it's definitely staying in. The formula is really good. It's a palette that I just, like I said, I just know I want to use. So this next up one, this is the Classic Autumn palette from DD Signature. This came in my Ice Cream Beauty box. You know what's sad? Because this one is like so freaking new to me. I created some looks with this, don't get me wrong, that I really like. And I really want to check out DD Signature. I really want to get that newer palette that I know they're doing a restock on. It's like for holiday. I'm still like undecided on that one because like I love it. It's so pretty. This one though, I'm going to say is going to go into the other one. Why can't I? Archive. I just don't. I don't know. It just didn't vibe with me. I was able to create some looks, don't get me wrong, that I really like. But it's just a palette that I like, but I know myself. I'm not wanting to reach for it daily and it's just going to sit there. And I'd rather it is a beauty, don't get me wrong, so I still have it, but I'd rather be like, you know what, let me get some love, because I'm seeing stuff here that I want to give love more to. So yeah, that is by Archive, it will go. Okay, next up, this is by Kaleidos. This is the only one that I own. I don't remember what this one's called. Futurism, something electric, turquoise. I wish they'd bring these back. The shimmers in these were so good. This is gonna stay. I want to give some more love to this one. I don't think I've yet to create like a full look with this palette, but like, it's just so perfect. How could I get rid of it? It's just so perfect. So this is by Juvia's Place. For 1, don't really agree with the brand. For 2, this is such a like neutral palette, so easy pass there. This one is Beauty Bakery. They also don't exist anymore. This is a palette that they like sold in stores. And with the Cookie Baking Crew, it was fine. The quality's just, you know, it's just okay. Definitely probably just gonna pass on that one. This is by Charlotte Tilbury Easy Eye Palette for the Charlotte Darling look. So I had got this, I forget, was it last year? How you can, with Beautylish, they do those like Beautylish boxes. So I believe I'd got 2 little eyeshadow palettes, either one of which I like. So I have this one. It's like such a super neutral look. And it's hard for me because I know Charlotte Tilbury is like such good quality. But these are just, they're okay. They're okay. So I have them. I've yet to like figure out what I'll do with them. I try to create a look with it. So like that's what's hard. I can't really necessarily give it away. While we're speaking on that, I will go ahead and pull out the other one that I got. So this is Viseart. And I have always wanted to try Viseart, but like this is just so not my color story. It's just so not. It's like simple, it's cute, don't get me wrong, but I don't want to reach for it, which is sad. So like I said, that's also kind of like I don't know what I would do with it, but man, let's go ahead and pull out my Sugar Pill. This one I have mixed feelings on, if I'm completely honest. So this might stay in the normal collection just because there are shades in here that like if I need a white, I'm gonna reach for my white. This is like my favorite blush, Suburbia. You know, she's definitely past her prime. She's been around for a really long time. But, you know, I've been a collector from Sugar Pill. Obviously, she needs to be cleaned up. I think I'm gonna stick with this one. I'd much rather prefer these than those other pill ones that I did get rid of, did put into the archives. So, yeah, I think we will keep that one around. We have 2 palettes from Wicked Widow. So this is the Resurrection palette. Again, I have really not given this baby enough love. The shades in here are just really good. I definitely don't love all the shimmers. If any of you are familiar with me, I'm not a massive fan of duochromes, but I've kind of learned to love some of them. Halo is definitely not my favorite shade. It's just a really basic, not like a lot of these are really good shimmers, and this is like the most boring in the palette. It's a very interesting rainbow palette, I will say. There are shades in here. Sorry, I just realized I'm not even fully looking at you. There are shades in here, like the shade Ethereal. Sorry, I have the palette upside down. Ethereal is such just an extraordinary shade. So that's where it's like I can't get rid of this. But like there are other shades like Devotion, that this red, it's just okay. So I'm definitely very intrigued with Wicked Widow. We will be keeping this one, Resurrection. I did not get their newest one. I decided to pass just because I'm trying to be a bit more selective with my purchases, but I did end up getting this one from earlier this year. This is the Crow palette. I have barely played with this thing. I need to play with this. This red is much better. The only thing I don't love is that it kind of reflects a lot more orange for me. I don't know if it's looking orange or red, but I love this palette. Definitely, again, this is a stain. I cannot wait to play more with this. Okay, so next up, this is just going to be an easy kind of section. These are all by Jeffree Star. I do not support Jeffree Star. Also, the quality of Jeffree Star is just not that good in my opinion. The mattes are great. Shimmers kind of suck in my opinion. So this is the Alien. I have had several of these because when I used to get his mystery boxes, I did get some in here. So you can kind of see, it was a cute color story for the time period, but Jeffree Star, as I've said before, is just such a hype brand. Just such a freaking hype brand you don't need. This is the Thirsty palette. This is the only palette I will say. Color story, I'm not a massive fan of. It's just kind of very bright. I know some people like this one. I love the shimmers though, and I know not everybody likes the shimmers. The shimmers in this one are actually pretty freaking good. Here is the second palette that they ever came out with, the Androgyny palette. Again, interesting color story. The shimmers really suck. Mini controversy. You know, played with her, not my fave. Mini Breaker, same kind of thing. Oh, so she is completely depotted. I don't know where this shade went, but it's like a kind of grayish brown. Yeah, definitely interesting. I definitely see Jeffree Star's palettes always as well for me have like color schemes, and I'm like, what am I supposed to create with this? So that makes it like difficult. This is the first ever palette that they came out with. Beauty Killer. No. It's just fine. Again, I just don't really support the brand. On a random, whenever I think of this palette, I remember him talking about this shade here called Black Rainbow, which we now know is a sequin shade, a matte shade with some sparkle. It's black with some rainbow sparkle. This does not translate whatsoever. Like, it's such a not good palette, but it just goes to show, like, the power of hype. And it's so sad, the power of hype. I hate it. It's so dangerous. This is the Frankincense and Myrrh palette by NDB Cosmetics. This had a lot of pressed glitter. This is fine for the time period. The quality was never like super great. I have no idea what the brand themselves is doing currently. I know they were still doing their colored foundation, so I don't know if they're still doing that. Obviously, I want nothing but the best for them, but this one's definitely going into the archive / I would declutter. It was fine with the time period. It wasn't that great, let's just be completely honest. There are some Juvia's Place ones. These, when I think about it, even if I don't necessarily dislike the brand, I always struggle to figure out, like, what is the look I'm supposed to create with these, like this one. The artwork, though, is so gorgeous. Oh. That's something that's hard, is, like, I want to like them, but, like, it just is can't. This one was probably my favorite, the Warrior 3. Love this one. I also had the Masquerade. I think I also just remember owning these, and I know these used to be really popular at one point, but I always, like, once I personally owned them, I struggled so hard to create looks with them, and that really sucked. This is the Magic. This one also is really pretty, but just some of the shades were just, they were just okay. The quality just was like, not very good. So yeah, I don't need those. I am fine to let those go. And just, yeah, nothing, even like I said, I don't really care for the brand, but nothing from them really, like, attracts me anymore. It's kind of a bummer. Here is a random one. This one's a difficult one. This is the Morphe James Charles palette. This is not a good palette, right? We all know this, in my opinion. Not a good palette. So hard is I'm so tempted to keep it, just, like, not in my active collection, but in the archives, just because it's such, like, a part of, I hate to say makeup history, but it just, like, kind of is, of, like, again, the hype of this. Like, I think he's like, it's so good, blah, 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 and it's just okay, and it really just shows how hype really can happen. Here is some quads from Midas Cosmetics. This is the Macchiato quad. Again, I wish the shimmer was a bit stronger, but I did really like this one. It had a really good green. This is the decaf one. I never really used this one. Definitely more good for, like, Valentine's Day looks. I hated the fact that the colors were really similar. My favorite one, which I think I already talked about, which is the Latte quad, has, like, 2 oranges that are really similar, and I just, no. We don't need that. Okay, this is by Milani, Most Wanted. I believe they still sell this. One of my shades is broken, but this is what this looks like. It was a cute little palette. I never reached for it, though. So, go away. It will go. This is the Gemini palette from Melt Cosmetics. I believe this is going to stay. The colors, like, though I'm not currently using colors like this, they're just... This is a freaking masterpiece, y'all. Like, you just can't get rid of that. It's a freaking masterpiece. They were literally ahead of their time. I, of course, also have the Gemini 2. I have barely reached for this one, but again, I really want to. With these spring months coming up, of course, you can wear whatever colors whenever you want to, but I just, yeah, she's gonna survive for right now. We're really gonna try to get some more use out of her in the upcoming year and just see. So next up is the Ugly palette by Likely Makeup. I love this palette. Just a hodgepodge of some random colors. The shimmers were really good. I wish that they would come out with more. I don't get why they haven't, because, like, it did really well, I think. I don't fully know. But if you were on the cusp of thinking of this palette, I recommend. I think it's a cute one. Next, this is, like, an easy one. Archive. So I bought this from the Dollar Tree a while ago. LA Colors Eyeshadow palette, to be honest. Oh, it smells like it and always will. If anybody, like, I feel like if any of you are my age, in the 90s, there was, like, makeup powder that kind of all smelled the same. It was just this very, like, iconic smell. That's what this smells like. And I've had this for, like, I don't know, 5 years, if not more. And the scent is exactly the same, and I love it for that. I think I always will. Okay, I'm gonna quickly go through. I don't even think I'm gonna open these. I have all 5 of the Kiss palettes from Glamlight. I think my favorite was probably the Lava Cake one. These are just okay. Again, sorry if you're curious, I do have all 5. The shimmers were, like, not my favorite. I don't know. Like I said, I have stuff that's just better. So, like, I don't need these anymore. They were iconic for their time period. These will definitely probably go in the archive because I still love the Ziploc baggie, all that stuff. I did buy it. I'm trying to be more, like, careful with the whole hype thing. Okay, so real quick, we're just gonna bust out. These are by Midas Cosmetics. We have, this is the Lemonade palette. I actually like the shimmers in this one. I'm gonna be careful because some of the things are popping out. I love this, like, brown tone, greeny yellow shade. I wish they would have, like, done more of these. Now, granted, ColourPop was also doing the monochrome thing, so I guess it depends on how you view by that. If you think that they were, like, copying, I don't really know. So, High Times by Midas Cosmetics. Here is this one as well. I'll be honest, in the time period, a lot of, like, the people that I followed were using Midas. It was, like, super big. They were really hyped, and their artwork used to be really cool. If anybody knows why Midas changed their artwork, it used to be like a girl on the front cover, and then they changed it to be like a lot more simple. If anybody knows why, let me know. I do not know why. This is Odin's Eye. This is the only palette from them that I will probably not be keeping. The Skewed, I think. So I got this in a mystery box from the brand. These are like, it's an all shimmer palette, and these are like the most random shades, and like they're not even that good. Like, I never want to use this. I don't even think I've ever used it. The artwork is gorgeous. I don't get why it's so like boring on the inside. Not boring, but like, why is the inside not reflecting this? Hello? I should recreate a look like this. That'd be kind of cool. Here's an oldie, Midas Cosmetics Smoky Glow. If anybody remembers this palette. I created so many looks, and be careful again. A lot of the shimmers in this were really good quality. I do believe they actually sold some singles from this one. But again, archives. If I've not been saying, sorry. All of my Midas is going to go in the archives because I do still appreciate it. Here's the Flower Bomb palette. So this one they did redo without a lot of the pressed glitters, but then that kind of just really cut down the shimmers to almost nothing. This was such a cute palette though for its time period. Again, I did struggle with this palette whenever trying to figure out looks to do, but I still did like it. So next up, this is by Pretties for Your Face. I did purchase this one because, again, I'm sure you all know, I love the Hocus Pocus. This is the Sanderson Sisters eyeshadow palette. I'm trying to see if this like shade is like poofing up. I don't really know if it is. These are just like again, a kind of hodgepodge of some random shades. They're all pretty shimmery, but they're not like, in my opinion, like the best. I really want to see Pretties for Your Face like step out and do something different. I don't know much about the brand and or the owners. I don't know if they have like the ability to do that, but I would really love to see them come out with like a really sick, like actually good palette. Next up, this is the Scooby-Doo Rut Row Raggy palette. If you know me, these palettes are not going anywhere, and be careful because I did depot some of these. This is the more green one. I'm just going to scooch over. Have the Creeps and Crawls. This one for sure I definitely was depotting. Lamplight, this is like your best. This is your best, in my opinion. Everything else is just, it's okay. Here's the Camp Crystal Lake palette. I really have barely used this, so I'm almost tempted to keep it just to try to get some more use out of it. Like, I don't hate the colors, so, you know, she can stay. Glamlight, this is the Nightmare on Elm Street. This is the more grainy one. And to be honest, the shimmer's not great, but I like this one a lot more than the red one, so I think this one's going to stay. This one is the Chucky palette. Connie had so graciously given this to me, Color Brights. Absolutely appreciate that. The shimmers in here are just okay. They're not that great. I do love, though, the murky tones. And to be completely honest, I have barely played with this palette, so she's gonna stay as well just because I want to get some more use out of her. As I probably mentioned in my last video, I really want to bring back my series of playing with mailed makeup, doing like maybe every other week or something, just to get some more use. And also, like, if you have these palettes, like, hello, we should like be using our palettes that we have. So definitely want to do that. Okay, we are like at the end. I am so excited. So these are last 4 palettes. We'll just make it super simple. These are all by Blend Bunny. I will be keeping all of these. This is the Little Miss She Never Misses. To be completely honest, I need to play more with this palette. I was not like super in love when I first got it. I did not want to at first get it, but I wanted to buy it because I wanted to support her, so I did buy that one. Next, this is the Blends palette. This is Hello, Not Going Anywhere. Oh, oops. I had depotted the gray at one point. Again, when I was on my big depotting craze, so I'll have to pick that up, put that back in there. But I do like that one. This is the Ellis palette, which I am so happy for Ellis that they are getting their coins, because I feel like when this palette first came out, I don't think a lot of people liked it. It is huge, don't get me wrong, but a lot of people I feel like didn't like it because it's an all-rainbow palette, which it is. But I really appreciate when I play with this, how many different undertones and just interesting differences there are. Absolute favorite is this row down the center. These are, in my opinion, the best shimmers that Blend Bunny has ever done. I love these. They're toppers, but I love that you can kind of put them over different shades, and they're just absolutely pretty. Now, the only small thing I will say is that most, if not all of these, are that moussey kind of texture that I know not a lot of people like. I really hope that brands are one day able to figure something out, because, like I said, a lot of people have massive issues with the creasing with these shades, and it's disappointing when you think about it, the fact that a lot of your consumers cannot use these palettes because of those shades. I think that we, as a makeup community, or like brands, need to, if they're able to, and that's what's hard, I don't know, but I think that really need to try to step it up and find something just as good, but a really like a standard shimmer formula and not that kind of thing, not that kind of putty thing. So here is the Machina, I believe it's called Machina palette, another by Blend Bunny that they had done, I believe, earlier this year. And I had seen this palette go on sale, so that's why I picked it up. When I originally saw it, obviously, it's a really pretty palette, but I had just passed on it. The shimmers, though, I will say as well, are so good. This one here, what's it called? Cyborg, is, like the prettiest shade of this palette. It's so freaking pretty. I love it. Again, this is Stain. I love my Blend Bunny stuff. Literally so good. Alright, and here we are. We've reached the end of today's video. I am so happy that I have finally decluttered all of my eyeshadows. I have gotten my eyeshadow collection down so small, and it feels so weird, but like exciting, but weird. Just, you know, it's like this weird, almost pseudo-emotion thing. Like saying goodbye to a lot of stuff. Not fully, again, because as you know, I'm gonna keep it. Like it'll just be in a bin, kind of gone though out of sight. I think really it's this weird thing, but I think with collecting, like, it's gonna feel weird looking at my shelves and seeing it empty. Because I've been collecting for so long, it feels weird just to have it, like, dwindle down. But I think that, I'm hoping that this will, obviously I think it is a normal thing with, you know, makeup in my journey. You know, as for most people who have makeup, to dwindle down and get rid of stuff. But it just feels weird. I feel like looking at your collection, this thing that you've had that's just beautiful and just nice to look at, and see it dwindle down. It's weird that there's a sadness, but it just, I don't know. It's weird. So yeah, I don't know. Hopefully I'll be okay. I'm sure I'll be fine. It's not a big deal. But I just want to mention it. Definitely let me know down your thoughts down below. Are you going to be getting rid of anything? Do you think I got rid of anything that you're just like, what? Crazy? Some of my favorites, things that you absolutely hate. I would just love to know that. And yeah, I would love to have you also subscribe. Welcome to my channel. I think this is going to be so fun. I am so excited for this new year. I really hope we can reach 1,000. I think we are going to, if not before the end of the year. I'm just going to keep trying hard to keep, you know, chugging along and get where I would like to go with this channel. But yeah, I would definitely love to have you here. So thank you again so much for watching. I hope you have a great rest of your day, and I will see you on my next one. Okay, bye!